Among history's most remarkable figures, Alexander the Great was born in the year 356 BC in the city of Pella, which was the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. His father was King Philip II of Macedon, who had become king 3 years earlier. Philip would go on to expand his kingdom significantly, laying the foundation for his son's future conquests. However, unlike his son, who would be known for both his military victories and his leadership, Philip was seen by many Greeks as an uncultured barbarian from the far north of Greece. Alexander's mother was Olympias, the daughter of King Neoptolemus of Epirus. Olympias was considered Philip's main wife, though he had many others, and Alexander quickly became his father's heir, even though he had an older half-brother from one of Philip's other marriages. There are many legends about Alexander's birth, one of which suggests that a lightning bolt struck Olympias during her marriage, leading some to believe that the Greek god Zeus was actually Alexander's father. This mythical story helped shape Alexander's later life and his belief in his own divine right to rule. Alexander's upbringing was influenced by the political and military climate of the Greek world and the growing power of the Persian Empire, which would soon become his greatest enemy. From a young age, Alexander showed great promise, thanks in part to his education. He was tutored by the philosopher Aristotle, one of the greatest minds of the ancient world. Aristotle had studied under Plato, and his teachings covered a wide range of subjects, including philosophy, politics, biology, and literature. During his lessons, Aristotle introduced Alexander to the works of Homer, particularly the stories about the Trojan War. These tales, especially the heroism of Achilles, greatly inspired Alexander and fueled his desire for military glory. At the age of 16, Alexander took on his first official role as regent of Macedon when his father Philip went on a military campaign. During this time, Alexander led the army to several victories, including the suppression of a revolt in the city of Thrace. He was also responsible for founding a city, Alexandropolis, which would later become an important center in the region. These early achievements proved that Alexander was not only a student of war, but also a capable leader in his own right. By the time he was 20, Alexander had proven himself as both a military leader and a ruler, setting the stage for the remarkable campaigns he would lead in the years to come. His leadership qualities, combined with his education under Aristotle, gave him the knowledge and determination to conquer much of the known world. In 336 BC, at just 20 years old, Alexander became king of Macedon after the assassination of his father, King Philip II. Philip's death left many questioning whether Alexander, so young and untested, could hold the kingdom together. However, Alexander quickly proved his strength and leadership. He acted swiftly to eliminate any potential rivals to his rule, including his cousin Amyntas, who had briefly been king as a child, and several others who might have posed a threat. Alexander also secured the loyalty of his army and allies. His first military action as king was to lead a campaign to suppress revolts in the Balkans, including the Thracians who had risen up after Philip's death. This swift action solidified his control over Macedon and the southern Balkans, establishing his authority both at home and abroad. At the same time, Alexander moved to secure his position with the Greek city-states, which were still reeling from Philip's conquests. After dealing with internal unrest, he led a campaign to unify the Greek states under Macedonian rule. He defeated the Greeks at the famous Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BC, which crushed their resistance and established a Macedonian-dominated League of Corinth. With the Greek states now under his control, Alexander was free to pursue his larger ambitions, including his campaign against the mighty Persian Empire. His success in consolidating his power was not only a testament to his military skill, but also to his political savvy. Alexander knew when to be ruthless and when to show mercy, a strategy that helped him maintain stability in his newly conquered territories. In 334 BC, just 2 years after becoming king, Alexander launched his famous campaign against the Persian Empire. His goal was not just to defend his kingdom, but to destroy the Persian Empire, which had long been a threat to the Greek world. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Alexander led an army of about 50,000 troops across the Hellespont, a narrow waterway that separated Europe from Asia. His forces were a mix of Macedonians and Greeks, and they were about to face the massive Persian army led by King Darius III. The first major battle of this campaign was the Battle of the Granicus River, where Alexander's army scored a decisive victory over the Persian forces. The battle, which took place in May 334 BC, was a significant moment in Alexander's campaign. Although the Persian forces were much larger, Alexander's army was better trained and used advanced military tactics, particularly the Macedonian phalanx, which allowed them to overwhelm the Persian forces. After this victory, Alexander marched further into Asia Minor, securing key cities along the way. The success at Granicus set the stage for a series of battles that would define Alexander's military genius. As he moved deeper into Persian-controlled territory, he faced new challenges and more powerful Persian armies, but his determination and strategic brilliance continued to lead him to victory. In 333 BC, Alexander met Darius at the Battle of Issus. This battle would be one of his most famous victories. Despite being outnumbered again, Alexander used his superior tactics to defeat Darius's forces, forcing the Persian king to flee. The victory solidified Alexander's position as a powerful force in the ancient world and set the stage for the eventual downfall of the Persian Empire. After his victory at Issus, Alexander continued his march southward along the Mediterranean coast, aiming to secure the Levant and Egypt. One of the most challenging moments of his campaign came when he laid siege to the city of Tyre in 332 BC. Tyre was an island city with powerful defenses, and its people refused to surrender. Alexander, determined to break through, ordered the construction of a causeway, a long artificial land bridge from the mainland to the city. This ambitious project took several months, during which Alexander's army built siege towers and used naval forces to attack the city's walls. The siege was brutal, and when Tyre finally fell, Alexander ordered a massacre of thousands of its inhabitants and enslaved the rest, a ruthless act meant to send a clear message to other cities considering resistance. After Tyre's fall, Alexander's forces moved south to Egypt, which had been under Persian control. The Egyptians welcomed him as a liberator from the Persians, and he was soon declared pharaoh. While in Egypt, Alexander made several key decisions to win the hearts of the locals. He visited the famous temples in Memphis, where he offered sacrifices to the gods and adopted many of their customs. He also founded the city of Alexandria, which would go on to become one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. After a brief stay in Egypt, Alexander turned his attention back to the Persian Empire, planning his next moves toward Mesopotamia and the heart of the empire. After securing Egypt, Alexander turned his attention eastward, determined to push the boundaries of his empire even further. In 332 BC, Alexander moved into Mesopotamia, where he continued to conquer Persian lands. However, his most famous and final eastern campaign would lead him into the heart of India. In 327 BC, Alexander led his army through the Khyber Pass and into what is now northern India. He faced the powerful King Porus, who ruled the region of Punjab. The two armies met at the Battle of the Hydaspes River in 326 BC, one of Alexander's most significant victories. Despite Porus's army having war elephants, which were new to the Macedonians, Alexander's tactical brilliance ensured a victory. After capturing King Porus, Alexander treated him with respect and made him a vassal, allowing him to continue ruling his territory. This victory marked the height of Alexander's eastern conquests. However, Alexander's soldiers, exhausted from years of campaigning and hearing of even greater forces to the east, began to show signs of rebellion. They refused to march further into India, fearing the unknown dangers beyond. Alexander, though deeply disappointed, reluctantly agreed to turn back. Before leaving, he founded 2 cities along the Hydaspes River, one of which was named Alexandria Bucephalus in honor of his beloved horse, who had died during the campaign. As Alexander and his army retraced their steps through Bactria and the Hindu Kush, they faced further resistance from local rulers, but Alexander's resolve remained firm. The campaign into Bactria solidified his rule, and the region became an important part of his empire. As Alexander continued his conquests, he faced the complex task of ruling a vast empire that stretched from Greece to India. To maintain control over his territories, Alexander adopted a variety of strategies that combined military strength with effective governance. One of his key approaches was integrating local customs and traditions with Macedonian rule. By doing so, he aimed to gain the loyalty of his newly conquered subjects. Alexander also focused on building cities throughout his empire, often naming them Alexandria. These cities served as centers of Greek culture and administration, promoting trade, learning, and military control. The most famous of these cities, Alexandria in Egypt, would later become one of the greatest centers of knowledge in the ancient world, home to the renowned Library of Alexandria. His leadership was marked by a mixture of respect for local traditions and a drive to impose Macedonian control. Alexander encouraged marriages between his soldiers and local women, known as the Susa weddings, as part of his efforts to integrate his Macedonian soldiers with the local populations. These marriages were meant to solidify bonds between different cultures and strengthen his empire. However, Alexander's growing adoption of Persian customs, such as dressing like a Persian king and using Persian officers, caused some unrest among his Macedonian soldiers. Despite this, his ability to maintain loyalty among his generals and soldiers, along with his military successes, allowed him to hold his empire together. In 323 BC, at the age of just 32, Alexander the Great's life came to a sudden and mysterious end. After a banquet in the city of Babylon, where Alexander reportedly drank heavily, he fell ill with a fever. The illness worsened over the course of several days, and Alexander eventually lost the ability to speak. On June 10 or 11, he died, leaving behind a vast empire that stretched from Greece all the way to India. His death was sudden, and speculation about the cause has persisted for centuries. Some believed he was poisoned, while others thought his death was the result of the illness he contracted. Despite the uncertainty surrounding his death, Alexander's legacy is undeniable. His conquests reshaped the ancient world, spreading Greek culture across Asia, North Africa, and Europe. His empire may have fallen apart shortly after his death, but the impact of his actions lived on. The Hellenistic period, the era that followed his conquests, saw the rise of Greek-influenced kingdoms and cities, where Greek ideas in philosophy, art, and science flourished. Alexander's name is still revered in history. His military genius continues to inspire leaders, and his empire set the stage for the Roman Empire, which would go on to rule much of the same territory. What do you think about Alexander the Great? Was he a brilliant conqueror who spread Greek culture? Or was he simply a ruthless ruler seeking glory? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about history's most fascinating figures. Your support helps us bring more amazing stories to life. Thank you very much for watching.